Hey everyone, welcome back to the Optimization Toolbox. My name is Jenna Redfield, and today I have a friend of mine with us, Lori Ryan. She is from, I think it's Lorignite. Is that how you say?
Lorignite, you got
Lorignite.
it.
Yeah, and she has been teaching AI for the last, I would say, a couple of years, maybe a year or
More
so.
than 2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. And she's had a, different career. So all of a sudden it's a pivot to AI. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about her story. She also has done a lot of stuff in video like myself. So we kind of, when we first met, that's kind of what we bonded over was we both did video and she lives here in the Twin Cities. And so I've heard her speak at a few different events and I thought she'd be great for this episode because I really want to focus on specifically ChatGPT, custom GPTs. Those have been really popular lately, and I just feel like she's the expert more than me. So I thought I'd have her on.
I'm definitely not an expert, Jenna. Anyone who says they're an expert at any of this stuff, they're lying. Okay.
So true. And I think it is so new, unless you've been doing it for like 10 years and you're like an actual engineer, maybe you're an expert, but I feel like most people started AI around the same time, you know?
We all did the generative AI piece,
Yes, yes.
in terms of machine learning and all of that. Like you talk about the engineers, developers, yes, they've been doing it for decades. But for us, generative AI is brand new. I think since OpenAI dropped ChatGPT on the world November
Mm-hmm.
30th, 2022.
Wow, I
So
love that you know the date. Because I remember seeing it almost immediately after, because it like went viral, right? Like it went viral immediately. I remember that.
yeah, I didn't even find it or know about it. I think someone at work talked about it in
Mm.
December. And then it actually took me, I'm like, where is this? How do I find
Mm.
it? And I think it was that experience of not knowing where to go or look that really prompted me to start Lorignite. Because my
Mm.
thought was, I'm just going to learn out loud as I try this or try that or whatever it is. Um, that's how it all came to
Yeah.
be.
So, can you tell us a little bit about kind of your background and kind of what led you to AI? Because I feel like you've been in the marketing and kind of the content world, but how has that like brought you to AI?
So I worked in television news. My background is journalism.
Mm.
And at one point, I was even executive producer of the Fox 9 Morning News. Again, this
Oh
was
wow.
ages ago. Um, but in my head, doing news through Y2K and all of these things, this was like, this is going to be the biggest news story of our lifetime, right?
Mm.
Like, holy cow, this is going to change so much. And it immediately hit me when I even just tried ChatGPT for the first time to update my Instagram bio
Mm.
after having it since 2011 or whatever it was and never touching it. And I also, at some point, transitioned or I worked in operations as well in retail for family business. So I've been on the front lines of trying to run a company and all of the complexities that, whether it's come from processes or managing people. And then up until 2023, for 10 years, I was in IT project management,
Mm.
where I got a sense of what change management was all about and how hard it is for change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disruption to what you're doing every day and how scary change is. And I thought,
Mm.
oh my gosh, here they have dropped these tools on us with absolutely no playbook
Mm.
for anybody, whether you're a company,
True.
an individual. It's like, here it is, here it's available.
That's true. And I think you wanted to talk about that a little bit because I think that's the biggest thing right now I think that I'm seeing is how fast it's changing and how much people aren't able to keep up. What are your thoughts on that?
Community,
Mm.
everything. Sharing what you're trying, what's working, what's not working out loud with other people. And I think early on, 2023, even 2024, people were ashamed to say they're using it for anything.
Mm.
It was like, oh, I'm cheating. I don't want to share that I used it
Mm.
for that task. And
Mm-hmm.
now I think what's critical in different spaces, whether it's at your office or with your friends or with your relatives, share stories. I'll get things from
Mm.
like, hey, this was a picture of my dinner and my brother turned it into a work of art. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like a Renaissance photo.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share that AI helped me do a reply email that wasn't as bitchy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes, I've used it for many an email because I'm like, I need to make sure because I am very direct and very blunt with the way that I write. Like I don't sugarcoat things, and sometimes I'm like, I need to add like flowery language. So one of the things I did recently was I did a custom GPT of just my voice, or like I know that's a way that people can use it, but I was like, I sometimes ChatGPT doesn't sound like me, so how do I make it more of? And it was interesting for me. I actually asked ChatGPT, "What is my voice?" because of, so I asked it, like, if you could describe my voice, because I talk to it all the time, what would it be? And it was very interesting to hear. And then I turned that prompt into a custom GPT. So I was getting the answer from ChatGPT to actually work on my own, like a custom GPT of my voice. I don't know if you've done that.
Well, it's so interesting, right? Because now
Yeah.
that these tools have all this memory and they can
Hmm.
reference previous chats, they really get to know you. And in fact,
Yes.
something went around LinkedIn. Believe I learn a lot from other people's
Hmm.
experiences on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I think it was Minnesota Women in Tech
Mm.
posted like, "Ask ChatGPT to roast you."
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, it was
Yep.
hysterical. And I happened to do it while I was hanging out with my 85-year-old parents. And my mom was
Mm.
like, "Oh my gosh, that is totally you." And now, right, you can take that roast
Yeah.
or you can take that text, you can put it to a voice, you can put it to all these things. I
Hmm.
mean, it's
It's crazy. Like, the amount of things I use it for, people would be shocked. Like the amount of little things that like people would have never thought of. It's like, I guess I don't want to use it as a crutch, but at the same time, it's like I have been on crutches for years. It feels like in my own life, right? Like
right.
I'm ADHD, I am neurodivergent, and
Yeah.
so a lot of things for me, I was just guessing. I felt like I didn't have any answers, and so I was struggling for many years. And I really think that ChatGPT has been a really big benefit to me, and also time saver, obviously. Like one of the things I use it for a lot is my YouTube channel. So coming up with doing deep research on YouTube tags for ranking, I do it for timestamps for my videos. So instead of watching back my video and being like, at what point did I change topics? I just put the transcript of the video and say, give me timestamps. So for me, and so I actually wrote out like a checklist every time I have a YouTube video of what do I need to put into ChatGPT. I said, like whether it's a title idea or even thumbnail ideas. I've been using it for now, I don't make the thumbnails in ChatGPT. I still make them in Canva, but I get an idea of what it could look like and then I create it in Canva. So again, you're using multiple tools to get to, a final result.
It's interesting you talk about the transcripts and time
Hmm.
codes.
Yes.
So when I was working at Jackson Gray,
Hmm.
retail, it was like we needed standard operating procedures. So what we did was we created a custom GPT that would
Mm.
take that transcript and in a specific format, what's the title, what access is
Hmm.
required, um, what tools are used, and then it gave me time codes for it. So then it was easy for me to go back to that video and pull screenshots at the exact
Hmm.
time to build our
Yes.
operating procedure. So the time codes, when you can say make sure to include time codes as part of
Hmm.
your custom GPT, that can be incredibly valuable and a
Yeah,
huge
I
saver.
just saw something today on LinkedIn that now they're adding meeting transcriptions to ChatGPT. Did you see
Yeah,
this?
you can actually record meeting stuff right in the team account of ChatGPT.
Yes, yes. Because
Yes.
I saw that. And well, I don't have a team account, so that's why I didn't. But I saw it on LinkedIn. I was like, but
Uh-huh.
people were saying like, oh, that's illegal if you don't know that it's recording. Like, I think there's 11 states that you can't do like unknown recordings. Because a lot of them, like Otter and stuff, like they show up that they're
And,
recording. But it's interesting. I'm
and
curious.
Minnesota only has like one
Yes.
party consent.
Yes. And so that's why I've always recorded my calls and stuff, because I also, for me, it's like I don't remember what I promised. If I said, "Oh, I'll do that," you can now put it into ChatGPT and say, "What did I say I was going to do?" Or, so it's interesting that there's so many use cases for it that people just in the past just you things would fall through the cracks, and now it's getting harder to excuse that. You know what I'm saying?
Meeting notes. I would say if
Yeah.
I look through everything I'm doing, and the most valuable thing that I am doing is I am getting transcripts for meetings. I use a tool called Tacteak. It's just because I've been using it a long time and it's
Hmm.
only $12 a month. But what that allows me to do now is I've created, actually in Claude,
Hmm.
I, it'll take transcripts and it turns it into a visual interactive document for me because I love lots of colors and bright
Hmm.
things. I
Same.
want to be able just to click the little tab that says, here are the key quotes, or I might click on something else and it'll be,
Hmm.
here are your takeaways, or here are the things you
Mm.
discussed that, you know what I mean, had some
Hmm.
controversy around it or whatever it is. But I do find those transcripts are so incredibly valuable. And also with client relationships, like you say, what is it that I need to deliver? Help me prepare for next week's meeting based on everything that was supposed to be done here.
Hmm.
They're gold to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me is like people are saying nowadays that it's like it's cheating to use ChatGPT, but I'm like, if it's getting the work done, I don't know. Like I just, uh, it's hard. There are times where I'm like, yes. Like the one thing I struggle with is I'm writing a book and I want to use like ChatGPT to help me, but I also don't want ChatGPT to write the book. You know, so it's like for me, I'm struggling with some of those nuances. How do you deal with that?
I still like writing a bunch of stuff by myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I primarily go to ChatGPT to review it. Half the
Mm,
time I don't listen to ChatGPT and say, I really
mm-hmm.
don't want to change anything I've written.
Mm,
And there are just a few formatting things that can be better. So what I really appreciate is I am not diagnosed, but my mom's told me since I've been young that she's pretty sure I'm
mm.
neurospicy,
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah.
And through learning more about it, I'm like, oh my
Mm,
God, I do interrupt
yeah.
people. Oh my gosh, I
Mm,
am going a million miles an hour in
mm-hmm.
12 different directions.
Yeah.
But what I like now is I take my communication and I assume everybody on the receiving end of it has ADHD or some type
Mm,
of neurodiversity. Like my dad has dyslexia, and I'm like,
mm-hmm.
how should I write this? Or what's the format it should to
Yes.
make it easier to receive?
Mm.
And I
I
believe
do, yeah, I do that too. I'm like, can you make this more ADHD friendly? Like add bullets or, I literally did that today. Like I was like, make this more ADHD friendly because you're right. Like people don't sit and read as much anymore when it comes to long, especially on like a website or on LinkedIn. Like the shorter the better, the easier to understand the better. And I think for me, summarizing what I'm trying to say, I do this a lot with like LinkedIn posts, is I'll just brain dump for like 5 minutes straight and it will like tell me what I was trying to say. Because I'm
that's
like, yeah.
That's exactly what I do, right? I call it
Hmm.
my word vomit. And
Yes,
now that
exactly.
you have the microphone
Hmm.
in these chats too, you can just
Yes.
be like, I got this going through my head and this going through my head and
Yes.
this going
Yes.
through my head. Help me make sense of what's
Yes,
going on
that's
here.
exactly what I use it for. And I think people don't realize it has that option because all of a sudden they see me talking to ChatGPT and they're like, "You're talking to," people have maybe sat. I'm a very slow typer, so I'm like, it makes way more sense for me to just talk to
Oh,
it. And I was actually watching a YouTube video yesterday where someone was using it like the conversation mode or whatever, where and it was using it as almost like a thought expert, and he was walking in a field and he was just having ChatGPT explain this topic. And I was like, this is so random that I'm watching somebody talk to ChatGPT as a video. It was like a 30-minute video. And it was just, I was like, wow, I had never done that before. But it made sense because it's like this person knows more than anyone.
I know people who do that on their runs, right? So they're not
Yeah.
at their desk, but they're having these
Mm-hmm.
really important conversations. And when they get back, it's
Mm-hmm.
all documented for them.
So true. And that's the thing, that I can search it and like I know because I've been using it now, I guess almost 2 years. So it has a lot of information. Obviously, I never share like private information. I try not to because I know that there's issues with that, but it's like
Mhm.
I'm also just like, who cares? Like this is just my personal like thoughts on things. But what I would love to get more into some of the advanced stuff because I feel like I've done some basics on ChatGPT and I feel like you kind of have more of the advanced stuff. I want to love to talk about maybe some custom GPTs and maybe some of your workflows because I feel like that would be really interesting for people to figure out like how can I use this effectively for myself. So can you kind of explain what a custom GPT is and how you set them up for yourself?
So I like to say that ChatGPT itself is like a public garden, right? It's
Mm.
got all this data and
Mm-hmm.
everything that you can imagine that's going into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the custom GPTs more as a potted plant, right?
Mm.
Maybe a specific thing that is growing in that plant, or it has a specific purpose that you use it for. So another example of that is you talked about YouTube videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in YouTube, when you post a YouTube video, you need all of these different pieces to it. It's the title, it's the description, it's the tags, it's
Mm-hmm.
all of this
Thumbnail.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I created a custom GPT that would take the transcript, right? And give
Mm.
me everything I needed.
Yes.
Because also in that description, I wanted to pull out time codes of different
Mm.
sections, which it included then in the description and gave me everything I needed for that specific task.
That's a great idea because I have a content one that's more general. It's just like content, but I'm like, I should do just one for YouTube videos because I do that every week. That's such a good idea. I do have one for one of my newsletters where I'm like, here's a bunch of events. Can you format it in a way so instead of me having to write out everything in a format. It's like it just reformats it in the way that I want it to instead of asking it every time. So I think for me, and like I I don't care if somebody writes using ChatGPT. I can sort of tell, but it's almost like I don't really care. Like I'm doing it too. Like I can't judge, you know?
That's an
So
interesting discussion that came up. Like
yeah.
a business leader was like, I can tell I don't want to get these emails
Mm,
that directly came, but then, you have to weigh, like, is this
mm,
allowing them to do something else? And are you getting the information you
mm.
need from that email?
So true, because it's like it doesn't matter how the it's disseminated, right? Like it's more of what the content is, and I think for me, I just there's so many thoughts about this whole topic that there is a
Mhm,
lot of ethical things that are obviously still
mhm.
really important. And I talked with a little bit with Carolyn, our mutual friend. She
Yeah,
came on the podcast as well, and we talked about
yeah.
a lot of that. And I'm like, I think people understand, but at the same time, it's like it's here. I think that's the thing is like you are kind of going to get left behind if you don't learn how to use it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you have to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, all these companies are coming out and
Mhm.
saying they're not going to add new employees, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And
If AI can do the job. So they're looking for people who know
mm,
how to use AI because they're going to be able to do maybe 10 times as much as they could
yes.
on their
And
own.
I think that's the biggest thing is we're able to do much more than we used to. And I think
Correct.
that's that so like the base level of what people could output has like jumped. And I think that's what we're not talking about is like I'm able to do so much more than I used to. And so the people that are not are going to be at that same level they were before. Can
About
you
but
talk a little yeah, can you talk a little bit about how then I think in my opinion the value of soft skills then becomes more valuable because if everyone's leveled out on in terms of knowledge and experience and like productivity, like where does those soft skills come in? Because I feel like those are more valuable now, right?
relationship and human interactions
Yes.
are going to be extremely important. And you need to
Yeah.
show that you are a human being, right? If
Mm-hmm.
we're
Yes.
also used to
Yes.
and I think the hugs, the handshakes,
Mm-hmm.
all of
You
that.
can't replace that with AI.
And I like to say that using these tools has freed up more of my time
Mm,
to make those human connections. And AI, at least for me, in this interest and passion in learning and community, has helped me create or meet some unbelievable
mm,
people across the globe that I
mm-hmm.
may not have met otherwise. In fact, with the AI salon, I've made a friend. Now I've met in person someone from
Cool.
Illinois this weekend. I'm going to Texas for something, but one of the women from the AI salon happens to live there, and we are going to meet in person. So I'm just incredibly grateful
Mm-hmm.
to AI for bringing amazing people into my life.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think when you find a niche in general on the internet, like you can find
Mhm.
like that's with me with Notion as well. Like I've met Notion ambassadors from across the world
Uh-huh.
because I'm in like a Slack group and they do like monthly mixers and stuff. So it's like I've met someone like I would have never met someone from Europe probably because I live in we live in Minnesota. Like
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
always meet people from other countries, and so it's like
Mhm.
oh wow, like I forget that like this is such a small part of the world, you know, like I'm so in it because it's my everyday, but I also am like, oh, there's so many other things happening in the world that we don't always get exposed to. So that is such a true thing about just the internet in general.
Totally. And and here's the other thing that I think doesn't get talked a lot about is
Mhm.
that leveraging these tools can bring some serious joy. Serious joy. How do you like that?
Yeah,
But
I agree.
I've had so much fun doing stuff I could have never done on my own otherwise.
Hmm.
Um, and it's the little things. It's making the music or the songs that
Hmm.
bring joy to events that are customized or whatever it is.
Yeah. Have you seen the Tik? I don't know if you're on TikTok at all,
A
but
little bit.
there's this new feature. It's called like it's like an AI video filter where basically you put a photo and it turns it into something. And like there's one where it's like you're my fake boyfriend, and then like this guy comes out. So it turns a photo into a video, and some of them are hilarious. I have not laughed as hard on TikTok versus watching these AI. You have to look into this.
Is there a
They're
hashtag, or how do I
no, it
find?
just comes across my if you just type in like AI video filter or something,
Okay.
like just
Okay.
there's a policeman one where people like are arrested and you have to figure out who's going to be arrested in the photo. And sometimes the people turn into policemen and it's just like the AI, like it's so funny. Some of them I was dying every time they come across my feed. Now that I've liked a bunch, I get a lot more. And so I'm just every single time I'll sit and watch it because it's so funny. And it's just I'm like so it's like for me that is like actual laughter of like this is hilarious. I don't think a human could have, but there's also a Twitter account that I just started following called images that AI could never create. And it's like the opposite. It's like things that AI would have never in a million years. It's like such a human thing. So I also recommend following that because it makes me laugh too. Because I'm like, yeah, you're right. AI would never have
I
created
will
this.
check it out because the world needs more humor, more joy, and
Yes,
more laughter right now. So the more that
a
can
hundred
we can
percent.
spread that, or anybody can spread that.
Yeah.
The
What
better.
are some of the most unique things that you use ChatGPT for? Like with some of your custom GPTs, or like what are things that like it's gonna blow people's minds? Like I had no idea it could do that.
Okay, so the news for me is really hard to consume. And having been a
Mm.
previous news producer, I created a custom GPT for myself called Doomscroll Detox.
Oh, I love
So
that.
I can copy and paste in like a news headline from the
Hmm.
day and pop it in there. And then it can ask me, do you want it like extra spicy?
Mm,
Do you want it to explain it to me like I'm 12, or do you want it to nerd out? And then it
mm,
like ask me for um it'll say, do you want fake quotes, or what this will look like in 10 years? Or I don't know. It's
mm,
just fun and I totally enjoy it. Or then I created Skit Happens. So it'll, again, take stories or situations and turn them into like SNL skits, like whether it's,
oh, funny.
and that's just really fun for me. On the serious side, though, with speaking and appearing on things like
Mm,
your podcast,
mm,
sometimes they ask for bios. So I've
mm,
created a custom GPT for myself to write bios specific to the audience.
mm,
And so that saved time because it's something that I repeatedly do. And
mm-hmm.
then I did an intro email custom GPT because a lot of times I'm
Oh,
doing
that's good too.
introductions. So I just
Yeah.
upload like the two LinkedIn profiles and
Mm-hmm.
say, here's how I've met these people. Here's why I want to introduce them. Help me write that email.
Mm.
I
I
don't
like
even
to,
have to say help me
yeah.
write the email because it knows what it's doing.
Yeah, and that's cool. One of the things I recommend highly to everyone is if you're ever talking to a client or even an interview like this, do deep research on the person. So ask ChatGPT for deep research. I love the deep research feature. I only started using that a couple months ago, and I don't use it obviously every day or for every single inquiry, but one I did yesterday, this is so random. I did Okay, so I think I'm having like liver issues because my like skin, I've had a lot of skin issues, and I'm like, I think a lot of them, like, I looking at all the symptoms, I'm like, I think my liver just struggles to like detox the stuff from my body. So
Mhm.
I said, ChatGPT, I said deep research, I said find the most random and weird liver hacks on like Reddit and like all these like forums to see if there's any that like I haven't heard of before. Because usually I'll just give you like the most basic answers, but I'm like, I want you to do like find the weirdest hack that you can. And like so it's interesting that I like wrote some of them down because I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Never thought about trying that. So it's like for me, it's if you don't have if you get the basic answer and you're like, I want more, I highly recommend the deep research, which I think is only available on the paid one, I believe, correct? Or there's limits. I'm not
I
sure.
think there's smaller limits on the free plan.
Okay. Okay, because I am on the paid plan and I have not hit a limit yet for deep research, but I know
And
that they have limits for that too.
if I haven't said it yet, like the $20 a month is the
Hmm.
best $20 a month.
Yeah, there was
I
a
mean,
moment. There was a moment where I was like, I use it so much, I kept hitting the limit, and I was like, okay, I gotta upgrade. And
and
that was
I
maybe
just,
6 months
I'm
ago.
like, you think about how much a happy hour costs right now, or a cup of
Totally.
coffee. I mean, can you give
Yeah.
up 2 Starbucks a month? I mean, it's,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there's way more options to link it to other apps and other things, which I haven't
oh,
really
I've
gotten
done some
into.
of that
Yeah,
too.
what are the apps that you link it to?
So I am part of 2 team accounts right now that we're
Okay.
implementing, and you can connect it to your Google Drive. So like you can go
Mm,
through and say, all right, based on everything that I have access to in this Google Drive,
hmm.
what are the custom GPTs you recommend and what
Ooh.
documents would you put with it? So
Mm,
those That's been great. Calendar, email. Um, it's like, how should I prioritize my day? And it can already
Yes,
see
I
my
do that too.
calendar, or
Mm-hmm.
have I missed replying to any emails? I don't think
Ooh,
it's good to go back too long. I think it's something you should kind of check each
yes.
day,
Mm-hmm.
because, but that's been really helpful. And I also, beyond the connections, right? Because now all of them are connecting. Perplexity's got connections even
Mm,
to LinkedIn, but
mm-hmm.
Claude has connections now to Calendar.
Mm,
And all of these connections are really where the magic happen. I don't know. I don't even like
mm.
that word magic, right? It's not magic. You have to know what you to ask.
Yeah, for sure. And it is still a skill to be able to prompt and to know how it can work. Because one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is like you don't have to take the first answer. That's something that I think I would
Totally.
challenge people to do is like most of the times, especially if I'm doing like a LinkedIn post, the first answer is a real basic draft. And usually I'm like, oh, that's not what I wanted to say. So then I add on. I keep talking to it and adding more. It usually takes 5 to 6 times of me saying, no, change that, change. So it's like I think what people shouldn't do is take the first answer because it's going to be not the best one.
And that's the best learning, right? So people
Mhm.
who are just getting started with these tools, they, in their mind, they test it. And they
Yeah.
ask it a question, they're like, "Well, that's stupid, and that sucked." They
Mhm.
don't realize, can I say sucked on here?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
If they don't realize, right, that A, the more these tools get to know you, the better they're gonna do,
Mhm.
and B, it's a conversation, right? It's going back and
Yes.
forth. It's
Yes.
challenging. It's saying, "You're not even close, try again."
Mm.
And the other thing I've seen talking to a lot of people is they're so caught up in, "I don't know how to prompt,"
Mm.
and really the biggest thing is you need to know what you need, right?
Yes.
You need
A
to know
100%.
what the context is that to be
Yes.
successful. Think of it as a new employee. And
Mhm.
this employee has more information. They've like worked everywhere. And now
Mhm.
you're getting them for the low price of either free or $20 a month, but they're coming into your organization with absolutely no training. So what is the
Yes.
context they need in order
Yes.
to deliver? And the only way they're going to know that is if you give them advice or,
Mhm.
or more information as you go.
Yeah, I think it's like talking to it like it's a person or talking to it like it's an assistant or like, yeah, giving them as much information as you can just off the top of your head. Like it doesn't have to be written out. And that's why I'm like, people are just like, oh, I need prompt ideas. I'm like, just do it. Like you just play around with it. I don't think that I have created the most random prompts from just random thoughts in my head that I'm like, oh, ChatGPT will help me with that. Like I can't even tell you. I should list off the most random ones. That actually is a good YouTube video idea is the most random and weird ways I've used ChatGPT because I feel like people like the idea of the one that I did, which was I was just sitting looking at my fridge and my magnets. I don't know if I told you this story. I was looking at my fridge and I had a bunch of magnets and I was like, you know what? I bet if I took a photo of this, ChatGPT would tell me where to put my magnets to make it look more aesthetically pleasing. And then I did my entire house that way. So I'd take a photo and I would say, like tell me where to move things because it's like so I redid like this whole thing right here you can kind of see it but like I redid my everything in my house and it's like oh my gosh it makes so much more aesthetic sense from a than just maybe me. I'm not a designer and the biggest thing, I think I told you about this. I use it for my shopping when I shop for clothes now. I have a custom GPT just with my colors and my body shape. And so now I'll take a photo of a shirt or something and it'll tell me yes or no if I should buy it based off of my qualifications. So I use that one probably the most out of anything on my ChatGPT, which is crazy.
That's crazy. So for me, my favorite thing is I use the app on my phone a lot.
Yeah, same.
And when you have the interactive conversations, you can bring
Mm-hmm.
video into the conversation.
Oh.
So at my one friend's house, she's like getting a new washer and dryer, and she didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what kind of door to put in. Like, should it be
Yep.
a sliding door,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or which way should it open? However,
Yes.
it was, it gave her such great advice that she then used to make that
Yes.
decision. And she was able to ask questions. Well, what if I did this, or what if I did that?
Mm.
And it was sitting there having that look about what
Mm-hmm.
to do. And then the other day I spilled coffee on my pants and I was so sad.
Mm.
They're my favorite pants. And so I was like, I showed ChatGPT the
Mm.
stain live and I'm like, what should I do right now? Will this come
Mm.
out? And then whether it's fixing a scorched pan, just anything I'm not sure how to do, I
Yes.
love that
It
interacting with live video feature.
it's like I hate to say it, it's kind of like a first aid kit. It's like a I need help like right now. Like, and the thing about Google that sucks these days is like it would take you 10 minutes to find the right exact message. And I think that's why people are done with Googling because it's like it wastes so much time trying to find the answer that maybe it's not even that accurate, you know?
And here's what's interesting. Sam Altman was just on a podcast and he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about he's a new parent and
Okay.
he talked about how incredibly valuable ChatGPT has been for asking questions, whether it's about
Mm,
milestones or whatever it is.
yes.
And I think about my days as
Mm-hmm.
a new parent and how much I didn't know.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I would have been so excited to have a tool like this. What, you know
Yes.
what I mean? I can't tell you how
Yes.
many times we'd call the nurse hotline for stuff
Mm,
that was literally nothing. Like, tell me
yes.
about this rash, or
Mhm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
like I
Literally.
didn't.
And my brother has a 9-month-old. So I'm like
Uh-huh.
sure that they're using it. But it's funny because my mom is now using it, and she's in her 60s. And the thing you're telling about your friend with the door, my parents are doing that with their backyard, taking photos and trying to like come up with ideas
Yes,
for their backyard for to when they hire somebody to put in pavers, like what could that look like? Where could that go? It was like, so it's almost like previewing the potential. And, so I think to me, it's like you're not taking someone's job because they're still going to hire the people to create it, but they have more say in what it could potentially look like and more ideas that you would have maybe never thought of.
never thought of. And I think what we're talking about here that's so important is these tools cross over from personal to professional, right?
Yes.
And there are a lot of people who get in these tools and they're expecting to boil the ocean. Like they immediately want it to solve their biggest
Mm,
problem. And what it really boils down to are what are the little things going through your day
yes.
that it could help you with. And you talked about that
Yes.
earlier, Jenna. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going in here and I'm asking this same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
How can
Yeah.
I just get help with the
The little
tasks,
thing.
the,
Yeah.
the
And I think,
day-to-day stuff that gives you
yeah,
fatigue?
I mean, I can't even tell you the thing I've been using it for the most recently is like food, like food sensitivities. I'm like, what, I was like asking it, I was having it actually organize some of my Notion content because I'm like, okay, here's a list of a bunch of foods that I could potentially be triggering. And how do I organize these into categories that I can put in my guide? Because I'm like, all of a sudden I read something that like blueberries can be triggering. I'm like, blueberries, I have blueberries every day, so it's like so then I'm like, tell me more about blueberry, so it's just like I read something online and now it's like I really want to like learn more and figure out, okay, is this real? Is this fake news? Is
Right.
this like what is the actual truth? Because it's like you might like I'll screenshot things all the time and be like, is this true? Or like, is this like tell me more information about this because it's like you can only get so much from a headline.
And what's nice now is all the citations. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh
So like
yeah, 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 yeah.
ChatGPT will cite where it's getting
Yeah.
all the information from.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really enjoyed seeing the
Yeah.
sources. And if you use like the reasoning models like O3,
Mm.
there's great learning there because it goes through the process. Here's where I'm looking now.
Oh,
Here's what
yes.
I'm asking. And
Yes.
it really gives you an idea. I mean, that's almost, it's pretty crazy to
It
see everything it
is.
thinks about and looks at and why it's looking at that information and then how it's
Yes.
consuming it and where it goes next.
Yeah, and I'm very logical in that sense, so it's like I
Mhm.
love that, and I see that in deep research. You can see that in deep
Yes.
research what it's
It's
looking through, which is interesting. And yeah, I use it so much that I forget that people don't use it as much as I do. So it's like,
mhm.
oh yeah, like you can do that, and I think I can't even explain how much it's like improved my life. And I know that sounds weird, but I just find to me that's why I don't feel bad about talking about it because I'm like I think where I'm at now versus like 2 years ago is so much better.
And,
So, I don't
and
know.
I'm going to add on to that, Jenna, because I have a huge inner critic. Like,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how loud this voice gets
Mm,
and all this fear, anxiety I
hmm.
have
Yes.
inside. And these tools have given me more courage to do
Mm,
things that I would have never done without them. And sometimes
yes.
it's just saying, tell me everything that's wrong with what I'm thinking, or
Yes.
what's the worst thing that can happen if I send this,
Mm-hmm.
or all of those things. And it really helps me pause sometimes and think about like what is causing me to be nervous or anxious about doing something.
Yes. Yes. I know that it's controversial to use it as a therapist, but I feel like there are times where I'm like, I don't like I'll say something and I'm like, I don't know. why this is. And one of the things I'm actually going to have someone potentially on the podcast soon is I think I have struggled with attachment styles. I don't know if you know much about attachment theory or anything. It's
Mm-mm.
basically like how you relate to people, and like there's like avoidance and there's like secure. There's like it's like how you attach to people. There's a whole I really hadn't dug into that before. And I'm realizing now, I'm like, I think that's a core reason why I struggle with certain things. And so now I'm like, okay, send me books, send me podcasts. What should I learn? You know, so it's like,
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
do deeper because I'm the kind of person that once I get into a topic, I will become an expert in it. If I'm interested in it, I will read every book. I will listen to every episode. I become the source. And so this is, as of the last 2 weeks, become one of my new ventures of like, this is something I really want to understand. So I'm going to have someone on my podcast talking about attachment theory because I'm like, if I like something, I'll just make content about it because it's like, that's what I love to learn about. And I'm sure other people would be interested too. How does it impact your, like, I guess your marketing for yourself? Because I'm sure you'd use it to write stuff, but like, how has it helped with your business?
It just because I don't think I would have done as much posting
Mm,
as I'm doing now because
yeah.
it's giving me more courage to post. I used to get so
Yeah.
nervous about everything, even
Mm,
commenting on other people's
really?
things. I'll type it
Wow.
into the comment, I'll grab the
Okay.
screenshot, and then I'll put it in and I'll be like, any thoughts on this? And usually I don't really want to change what I wrote. I just
Mm,
want to know if anything's off. And sometimes it'll
yes.
just give me an idea. You may want to close with this question
Mm,
or just something like that. But I'm
yeah.
out there and more visible because of these tools saying it's okay.
Yes.
You're going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing too is it's helped me actually trust myself more without having to ask ChatGPT because it's like I think it's giving me the confidence. Like one thing it did recently was it told me I was undercharging because I was asking it. I was like, "Is this too high of a price?" And they're like, "Jenna, you're actually undercharging." Like I had been looking for that answer for years, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that gave me the confidence to be like, oh, ChatGPT looked up my competitors' rates, and I could see that I'm not undercharged or like I'm not overcharging where I should be." And that actually gave me confidence where I'm like, there is data behind that. It's not just like someone's opinion. It's like you're comparing other people doing similar things. I'm able to then be more confident in my pricing.
I love that. And it can be little things too, whether it's my Wix website and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how do I set up this light box to promote my event
Oh,
step
yes.
by step? And
Yes.
so I do it. I get a lot of tech support too when something's not
Yes.
working quite right.
100%. Mm-hmm. I did that with one of my blinds fell off my
Yeah.
window and I
Yeah.
took a photo and I'm like, what is this part called? You know, it took my mom was gonna drive down. It was, you know, so it's just like interesting because it's like there's things where I'll like this is something I did. I screenshotted someone at a restaurant with like a backdrop. I'm like, where is this restaurant? I could tell you. It's crazy. Like it's crazy. Like I, you know, just the most random things. I'll screenshot something on the TikTok shop and be like, is this legit? Is this a
You
real
know what?
product?
I have to tell you, with spam stuff on the rise
Mm,
and all these emails you get, like, hey, I want to write this book for you, or hey, and
yeah.
I'm like, it really helps me detect too spam stuff. And one thing
Yeah.
I actually asked it about because I got some weird
Mm.
letter. They're like, actually, that one's legit. You do need to call on it. And I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
okay,
That's
thank
actually a good
you.
idea. That's a good idea. Because I do think I hate to say it, older people are getting duped by AI, whether it's the videos or posts. What are your thoughts on that and how they can, I don't know, be more, I don't know.
I'm using ChatGPT to gut check because here's what I find
Mm,
out. These scammers and everything I'm hearing, they're going to tap into what you're interested in. I had a friend say, "Oh my gosh, I'm a fan of the links and I got this invitation, to be a part of this fan club and then they asked me for
mm.
$300." And in my head, I'd be
That's a
like,
scam.
"Tell me
Yeah.
about this." And it'll tell you why it's a scam. It'll flag
Mm,
all of these things you may not have missed because you're excited about
mm-hmm.
what it could be. And that's what they tap into, like making you feel
Yeah.
special, making you feel
Mm-hmm.
like you've just been invited to whatever. Um, but yeah, I really
Yeah.
think if all of us can be using it as a way to fend off anything
Yeah.
before we sign up or click a link or anything like that, don't ever click a link till you put it through and
Oh,
ask.
that's a good idea too. I think, or like, I wish it did. The one thing I wish it did was I wish it could like look up phone numbers because I'm like, if somebody texts me, I'm like, wait, I didn't save that. They're like, but I don't think that's allowed in their terms and service or something.
I'm deleting and reporting anything that comes in as hello
Mm.
no.
This is more for it's like a friend who I forgot to save their number, and so then I have to
Oh,
like Google their
yeah.
number because
Oh,
I like
yeah.
to I like to do that because then I'm like, okay, I could probably figure out based off of like last names, like who the person is, so I don't have to be like, wait, who is this? Because I sometimes I'll forget to save people's numbers, and then they text me like they know or they think I know who they are, and I'm like, oh shit.
Sometimes I just have to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't save your
Yeah.
number.
I have had to resort to that, but I try to use context clues with following up with them, and eventually I figure it out. But you never know. Like it's happened to me so many times. But now I'm like, I still Google the phone number. That's still something I do. So we're kind of coming up on the end here. Is there any advice that you would give to someone who is maybe starting out in ChatGPT? Like, what are some like maybe lesser known hacks or tips that you'd recommend to someone that is starting out?
We covered a lot of them. One is it's a conversation. One is
Yeah.
to get in the mindset of just starting to ask it questions throughout the day.
Mhm.
Keep the tab open. Put a post-it note on your computer. Check with ChatGPT.
Mm.
Even if you think you know the answer, whatever it is, it's the little things. Like last night, I was with friends for a little dinner, and this gal brought this like yummy lentil salad. I'm like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, this is the most delicious salad. What's the recipe? I got it on ChatGPT, she said.
Mm.
She would have never maybe thought of putting those ingredients together before, and it
Yes.
was so delicious. So even if you're not thinking of it of, I can't do this at work, we have to be very whatever it is, which I hear a lot.
Mhm.
What are the things you can do during your day? Maybe it's how you'll reply to an email from an aging parent. I heard people say, "Oh my god,
Mhm.
we got all our siblings together and it's improved our relationship with our mom."
Mhm.
Or take a picture of your fridge. What would you make for dinner tonight based on what's
Yes.
in my fridge and what's
Yes.
in my cupboard?
Mhm.
Or I don't know, just start
Just
little
play
and
around.
have
Yeah, play around.
fun.
I think
Play
you'll
around. Any questions, anything that's on your
yes.
mind.
I have a lot of friends who still ask questions. I'm like, why haven't you asked? I don't want to like tell them like you should just ask ChatGPT, but I'm like, I don't get stuck anymore. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but it's like I just don't I I think I used to get stuck a lot. And now it's just like, okay, like if I ever get stuck, I ask ChatGPT. And it's just like I feel less stuck, which then helps my mental health, which helps my productivity, which helps, all the things. So it's like to me, getting stuck doesn't happen anymore. And I feel like that is to me the biggest benefit is just like getting through those weeds that stops
Mhm.
you. And I think to me that's the best thing about it for sure is getting unstuck in
I love
general.
it. I love it. That's a perfect way to close. Getting
Yeah.
unstuck and pushing through something that might
Yes.
have been hard before.
Yes.
And
Yes, exactly. So awesome. So how do people find you online if they want to follow you and connect with you?
super. Website is Lorignite, Lorignite.com. And then I think I'm Lori Druskin, Druskin Ryan on LinkedIn, and finding underscore Lori Ryan on Instagram. I think I'm on
Awesome.
TikTok too, but
Those are probably the main ones. Yeah. It's funny because I used to share like my Pinterest and my Twitter. I'm like, I want people to follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and not even Facebook. Like I don't really even use my Facebook page much. So it's like those are the three that I'm like, if you're gonna find me, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, that's it.
Pinterest is making a comeback. Mark my
Is it?
words. I think it
I mean, I've
is.
always been on Pinterest and like I was actually in the beta for
Uh-huh.
Pinterest in
Well,
2011 when I was in college. And I remember because it was like invite only. And I just was like, what is this new app? I was very social media focused in college. And like I
uh-huh.
was early adopter of Spotify. I was an early adopter of Google Drive. And then I was
Uh-huh.
early adopter of Pinterest. I remember those three specifically. And I just, I was kind of late to Instagram. I was late to Facebook. I was
Interesting.
early to YouTube
Uh-huh.
because I was like 15 when it came out. So I was on it that year that it came out. So it's like
Uh-huh.
there's certain things where I'm like I was very on it, but then there's things where I'm like took me a while to jump on the like Twitter. I wasn't really active on there until I was in college. So just depends on the app. But awesome. Well, thanks Lori for coming on, and I'm sure people will have questions in the comments or they can message you if they have any
Awesome.
further.
It was a pleasure. Love talking to
Yeah,
you
this is
and
super
love
fun.
learning from
All
you.
right. Awesome. I'll see you later.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.